Ladies and gentlemen, today our guest on the Women Leaders in Petchem series at Insights with Nidhi Verma is none other than Sonali Kulkarni, President and CEO, Fanuc India, logging in from Bangalore. A gold medalist in zoology, Sonali is also a chartered accountant and a CPA. Along the way, she picked up an MBA from Ohio State University and an LLB from LA Shaw Law College in Ahmedabad. As president and CEO of Fanuc India, Sonali Kulkarni leads one of the most complex engineering product manufacturing companies in India since 2006. One of the few handful of women corporate leaders in the manufacturing world. It's a pure honor to have her with us today. Under her watch, Fanuc India has grown market coverage 5x and continues to command CNC market share of approximately 80%. Besides maintaining leadership position in robotics and plastic injection molding machines. With an installed capacity of 183,000 units, including 9,000 industrial robots, every second car is welded by a Fanuc robot. More than 80% of the world's smartphone production is accomplished by RoboDrill. As the pandemic hit, Fanuc took a bold decision for the employee safety. A full 1 week before India lockdown to resume full operations by May. And Sonali attributes all this success to her strong 350 team across 22 locations. A very warm welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you, Nidhi, and very warm greetings to the audience members.
Ma'am, I will take this opportunity to ask you to share your journey with us. Few highlights that come to your mind because so little is known about you and you are such an enigma for all of us.
Thank you, Nidhi. You always have this wonderful way with words. I started out like many of us fortunate people in India who have decent parents and reasonable start in life. So I had a good education and I was in a small family. My parents and my brothers, we were very close-knit, and that is how I grew up, always wanting to be an independent person and do my bit for the planet. So that's how I was. And yes, I studied in college, I studied zoology and biochemistry. Those are my passions. And then I thought one should be a little more practical, and therefore I studied to become a chartered accountant and worked as a CA in Bombay for a year before going to the US and working there for some CPA firms and a couple of companies also. Before, this was for 6 or 7 years, at which time I then studied and became a CPA. You see, Americans don't recognize qualifications or certifications which are from other countries. They don't even know about it, leave alone recognize. So anyhow, that was that. And yes, and then my brother was working in Japan with Fanuc, and he told me, why don't you interview with Fanuc? I'd by then spent about 7 years in the US, and I was looking for a change within the US, not expecting to move out. And yes, so on the advice of my brother Sri Krishna, I met the founder of Fanuc, really not expecting to go to Japan. Everything I had read about Japan was not something I wanted to get into. But yeah, I did, and worked then for a couple of years in the founder chairman's office. And I can't emphasize how different the atmosphere is and the culture and all those good things between the US or even India. India of the 90s when I worked, Bombay was a very modern place. And Japan has its own unique flavor, and Fanuc its own very unique within Japan. So yes, that's in a very brief nutshell my journey. And I continue to work with Fanuc now, 22 years later. And I have grown to enjoy my work. I love the personal connect that this job requires. And also the very, what shall I say, Fanuc has a great deal of the word eludes me. You know, it's a very precise company, of course, in our products, but also in the way we conduct ourselves, or the way we come across, the way we speak to our customers. And it's extremely customer-centric culture, extremely customer-centric. So the smallest customer in India may have just one unit of Fanuc. If that person needs something, we are there. And also potential customers. So I like this philosophy. And yeah, so here we are.
Thank you so much for sharing that, ma'am. I've just been to Japan once. I think Sapporo is the place I had visited.
Oh, is it to Sapporo? Okay.
Yes, and that's the only time I went to Japan, and I was
Okay.
so, I would say, enamored by the culture that
Yes.
there is in Japan. I had a little problem because I'm a vegetarian, so
So am I.
oh, so there was a
Yes.
little difficulty in explaining, and then I found that app which converts Japanese to English to
Okay.
Japanese.
Okay.
And, the blossoms, I think that was something which was, I just stood there for 5 minutes.
Yes.
And the culture there is so beautiful, ma'am,
Yes.
where the people are going 160 degrees over and above to help anyone that asks for help. If you ask them to even ask that which is this building, they will actually walk you across.
Yes, they walk you across. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, I was like, anyone who is into servicing, I think
Yes.
once must visit Japan, because the kind of customer and kind of
Yes.
empathized, behavior that people have, it teaches you a lot of things. So
Yes, definitely. Like all of us, the Japanese have their strengths, exceptional strengths. And Sapporo is a very unusual place to go. Most of us just get to Tokyo, you know.
yes, the flight was from Tokyo forwards. There was this
Okay.
conference that was there
Nice.
which I had gone. Yeah.
Very nice.
So, ma'am, what has been the guiding force in your life, which kind of comes to your mind? One guiding force.
Well, I would say my convictions, the principles by which we live, you know. So, for example, I know we are vendors of plastic injection molding machines. We believe they are the most environmentally friendly ones, but still, I believe very strongly for the planet that our actions we should try to design in order to create, if not total support for the planet, then at least least damage.
Yes.
So that's a conviction. I live by that, or stuff like that. Yes.
Okay. Ma'am, very important question, because you are our woman leader. How do you balance the work and home demands? Any incident that comes to your mind where there was a conflict of priority? Home and your family needed you, and your work needed you simultaneously.
Yes.
We would really want to know, how did you
Yes.
manage that?
Yeah. So thank you. That's a good question. Particularly women I think, have to juggle this duality, or actually, duality is too small a word. We do, and but more and more as I look at life, I think men also, are faced with many challenges and don't get enough credit. So anyhow, if one wants to do anything, one has to be firstly serious about it. Okay. So if I had always wanted to work for a living, to contribute. So of course there are conflicts, but one tries to find a happy middle ground. But since you ask, yes, last year around this time, my father, who is now 94 years old, was suddenly diagnosed with a very serious condition, and all in the space of 7 or 8 or 9 hours, we had to arrange emergency surgery for him. And then I had this was at the height of Corona, the first lockdown. And I was very lucky. I got to be his attendant, a 24-hour attendant. And Fanuc was running full on. We were working virtually, but it was on. And April is always a very busy month for us with the new year. But for me, my priority was very clear, because my father has only one daughter, whereas Fanuc has many competent officers. And I'm lucky. Here I must say I'm lucky, so I'm not really giving the exact way of balancing. I have very understanding bosses in Japan, and I have fabulous colleagues here in India who are committed far more than me, and who work with such a good degree of ownership that I was never missed. So it all turned out very luckily. My dad also came out of everything and all is well. So I don't know if this qualifies, but so far as your question, in some cases, I think the priority is crystal. There is no doubt, even if Fanuc was not understanding, I would have done the same thing because my father has only one daughter, you know. But otherwise, there are smaller challenges or a smaller amplitude of options that we have to constantly make choices. And it is hard. And all I would say to people listening is try to make a support system. Try to make a system. For anything, we make systems, you know. Even for the shop floor, we have a system, a process. So if we wish to, then we have to recognize the reality and make a system. And it will fail. Definitely the system will fail. And that's the test of our resilience.
A beautiful way to put it, ma'am. And yes, that is a guidance that you've given, that we must have a support system and keep testing the system and kind of improvise it and try to better it so that it comes handy when required.
Or, you know, and if it even fails, you should have faith, because God will never give you a problem larger than your ability to resolve. So very easily said, I know, I know.
No, ma'am, I do get that you are speaking from a lot of conviction. These words are coming out, and we are happy to know that your dad is touchwood come out
Thank
of
you.
the crisis.
Thank you.
Ma'am, what are your hobbies? I'm sure no one knows that. How do you distress yourselves? What indulgences do you get into? Because I try to visualize and I cannot really feel
come,
into
Nidhi.
that.
I must invite you to Bangalore and we should have a day together. I'm not that mysterious. First of all, I try not to get very stressed. I think stress itself is unnecessary, but I suppose it happens. My interests, I would rather say, are I love animals. So I love fur and I love trees. And I'm very lucky in Fanuc, we have a lot of trees. So that is very, it is very restorative for me. But I also enjoy reading. I like meeting the few friends that I have. And yeah, I think chocolate would be another. Why not?
Wow,
You know?
ma'am, you kid at heart. How beautiful.
Yeah. So,
okay. So actually, you're very connected to the roots, right? This earth and planet and greenery. I think it's a basic fiber for you, is what I gather. Even if I've noticed the saris that you wear when you come to the conferences and all, they always are towards the earthy side, and the fabric is very
no,
maybe.
Nidhi, that's because I believe very much in the weaving tradition of India. And I feel very sad that it is vanishing because we don't give it enough importance. And of course, I find it beautiful. I'm not wearing it to make a statement. I actually think it's beautiful. But I wish more of us would stop for a minute and look at the textile traditions of India. They are still available. And not just saris, there's a whole range. So yeah, I believe in that. And yes, I think the earth is that's the only earth we have. So there is no dispute there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Ma'am, have you ever noticed at your level also, where you're leading a company, is there a glass ceiling that you have noticed, at least in India, if not in other countries that you have either worked or studies?
I must say that India is the most liberal of the three countries that I've worked in. Okay? So I worked in the United States, in India, before Fanuc and also with Fanuc, and also I've worked in Japan. So well, first of all, we should all stop and take cognizance of our country and how it treats a certain kind of women. Okay, we have to admit that so long as you have a degree and sort of you're in some professional class, I don't see much direct discrimination at all. We of course project our inner reality, so that is also there, and there are hidden prejudices. All of us have them. Okay, all of us have them, and we are often completely unaware of them. It's not an intentional thing. So yes, definitely there is a glass ceiling in India to the extent that we don't see women in several higher decision positions. And therefore, to that extent, it may be a deterrent to younger kids making a decision. But I really don't think that is a very strong deterrent. I grew up in the 70s, and the movies were really, really, you know, the women that they showed were not very, they were very stereotypes. And there were even fewer women then. Of course, we had a woman prime minister, but these things don't stop you really. But yes, yeah, in a word, I'll say there are all kinds of ceilings and walls, and but like in Harry Potter, sometimes you can just walk through them, you know. You can just walk through. If you read Harry Potter, yeah.
Lovely, ma'am. This we're always going to remember when we
Okay.
just walk through it. Yes, that's a message for all our
See,
women.
I look at you. I look at you, and I see you're so irrepressible. That is the word. I have seen you from far away talking to any guy, no matter what size, no matter what seniority, no matter how many sort of dominant control of the etc. market, you know. Let me not name names, but you relate to them on such a position of equal footing. Where did that come from? It's not because there was some other lady whom you copied, nor is it that some guy broke the ceiling and gifted you the job. So we have to just do what we can. And I think we should also reserve a little bit of our time to help girls like Madhuri. They are the ones who actually need help, okay? Not people like me,
Yes.
because my parents gave me the same amount of food and the same amount of education and love and encouragement, as did my brothers.
Yes.
Okay, it's not just the parents. It was a liberal household, so it's nothing special.
For the benefit of my viewers, you would not have seen the earlier part. So Madhuri is my housekeeper and cook, and she was very excited to say hello to ma'am because she's heard a lot about her. And ma'am was very kind to have a long chat with her before the interview started. So there is where the mention came from. So I think this is what true leaders are made of, and we always learn from you, as I always say. Sonali ma'am, we are very fortunate to have you with us to give us an insight into the very fascinating world of CNC. A lot of our customers and our viewers would know, and few may know very superficially. So, because it's a very specialized field, the computer numeric controls, automation, and robotics. Do give us a little bit of your view on this field and where is it taking the world to?
Sure. No, thank you. And you're very right. CNC is an unknown field unless you're in it. So in Fanuc, we call it the narrow path. That is the company lingo for it. So way back in 1956, you know, the CNC technology was in fact developed in the US by MIT labs. And it was the preserve of governments and defense ministries and things like that. It was very large, cumbersome, and very expensive. But the story, I don't know how many of you know this story, but when the Crown Prince of Japan was visiting India on a delegation to Delhi, and one bright, and along with him, there were various heads of businesses, you know, as is usual. And one bright young Indian civil servant asked Mr. Makino, who was at the time the founder of Makino Milling Machine Company. And this young man said, so Mr. Makino, when are you going to start making CNC machines? And Mr. Makino was taken aback, and because he had not thought of that at all, but he bluffed and said, okay, young man, you come to the Osaka trade show in whatever, 1956, and we'll show you. And then Mr. Makino hot-footed back to Japan and went to the Ministry of Trade asking for permission to get CNC technology from the US or something. And the Japanese ministry, you can imagine, was just coming out of World War II. Japan was in tatters. And they said, no, no, please don't waste the country's resources. You must just do your work. Please build machines. Don't waste time. That is for Americans. They are big people, whatever. And then Mr. Makino met some young man called Dr. Inaba, who was working in Fujitsu in those days, who took up his challenge to build the first commercial CNC for the private sector. And that was Dr. Inaba, who's Dr. S. Inaba, the founder of Fanuc, who went on to deliver the first CNC to Makino in 1958. And with that, and Fanuc in those days was just a department inside Fujitsu. It was not a company.
Okay.
And we became a company many years later, 20, 25 years later. So yeah, for the last 70 odd years, Fanuc has been leaders in CNC technology. And for all of us, I may say, if you think about whichever car you drive or whichever two-wheeler you drive, if you think of the engine, it's a complexly machined piece of metal with moving parts. And that is done on machining centers. And machining centers are powered by a CNC. So you can program the profile to be cut. There are motors and amplifiers to move the axes and the tools in a precision way, in a highly repeatable way. So that essentially is a CNC. It's the heart of a machine tool.
Understood.
And you can achieve these volumes at the costs because of such efficient technologies. So Fanuc continues to work in CNC, and we continue to be world leaders. And even though it is now a very old technology, it is still at the cutting edge. Many machine builders have started adopting it in India. Of course, we have the big people, the big boys, as I call them, who are responsible for 80% of India's machine tool volume. They, of course, make only CNC machines, but there are many others. In the last 8 or 10 years, we have expanded our market reach 5 times. So we used to serve about between 60 to 70 machine tool builders up to 2012. And then we expanded, and today we serve 545 machine builders. And many are tiny, and they're graduating from conventional machines to CNC. So that's what a CNC is. And CNC is also very ideally suited, because it is computerized, to fetch data from. So it is ideally suited to start your IoT journey on the shop floor. Then by 1974, Fanuc had used its basic CNC technology and controller technology and servo motors to build a 6-axis industrial robot, which we first placed in our own factories in Japan. And within 2 years, we started marketing them to the rest of the world. And today, for many years, we are the world's #1 manufacturer of robots, industrial robots, and they do welding and handling, painting, a variety of very precise operation, very repeatably. And one of the hallmarks of Fanuc is that we firstly build everything under one roof. So that leads to our very high reliability. So the CNC mean time between failure in India, with all our abuses and lack of less preventive maintenance practices, even then our CNC commands about 52 years MTBF, that is mean time between failure.
Okay.
And our robots, which have so many moving mechanical elements, commands 8.4 years mean time between failure. So this is an important factor. Robots also are very open to be connected for a networked factory. And Fanuc has IoT products which can network the robots, the CNC of other makers. So even though we command 80% share and we would wish that everybody uses only us, that is not a reality. We have competition, we respect it very much. And in any shop floor, our intention is to support our customers. And here it would be to support customers to network their devices, fetch data, and analyze it so that they can take better business decisions. So our IoT products connect all devices very efficiently and simply. So that's CNC and robots. Where are they taking the world? They're taking the world further and further into efficient manufacturing. And yeah, I strongly believe that.
Ma'am, more so because with the pandemic, which is engendered the digital world, it's brought it much earlier than we would have really thought it out to be.
Yes.
The role of robotics that it's playing in IoT as well as Industry 4.0 practices, that's going to probably take a very sharp rate of growth, I think now, right?
Yes, you're right. You see, very unfortunately, the pandemic displaced large amounts of laborers. And Nidhi, people like you and me, statistically, I think, don't even form 2% of the workforce in India. This we should know. We are not aware, because we only meet each other. We think that's the end of the world. you know, but it's really not. I was shocked to read the statistic that we are part of 2%, a salaried employee. And I know you're an entrepreneur, you're not a salaried employee, but all the same, what I mean is in the professional classes, they constitute less than 2%. And the bulk is what we call contract laborers, migrants. And yes, even CNC machines are run by people from different states, you know. So the pandemic destroyed or really shook their lives so much more. One, they don't have capital, they don't have negotiating power, none of those things. And since our manufacturing plants depend so much on such people, there is a move towards robotization, increased robotization. And in the general economy, there is a complete shift to digital payments and digital shopping and all that stuff. Because people want less contact, and also there is no need to engage so much is what is felt. So yes, there is a push towards robotization, and I know you will say that how does it affect people's livelihoods? And here or maybe I should allow you to come to that question when I answer that.
No, I will take it forward, because
yes,
there is always this question saying that yes, in India, the labor is inexpensive, though right now they are probably coming back from the towns when if hopefully the second wave doesn't catch up. The question becomes, when I also speak to the leaders of converting and processing companies and asking them that you're shifting to robotics and automation in your organization, but then what about the displacement of the human workforce? Isn't it going to impact it? So it's a difficult question, but
yes,
how would you like to
thank you. It's a difficult and it's a very important question. And maybe in the journey of every economy, every national economy, we have to go through this. But for a country which is, what, 75 years old, you know, we really need to take a hard look at why our people standing in front of a machine loading and unloading, and that's it. Or carrying heavy welding guns and welding, and there is fatigue. No matter how strong you are, the first hour of the shift is not like the fourth or the seventh hour of the shift. Yes. And there are the fumes. And whatever we talk about worker safety, we all know the reality. I don't think we value worker safety that much in spirit. Maybe we do in letter. So anyhow, many of these engagements are not for human beings. Okay. Now, I know you're going to say that is so idealistic. It's all very well if you're CEO of Fanuc and you already have a nice job and you know you're not worried about where to eat. You're right. That is a fact. And these things, I think, are questions for the society of which I am a part, and institutions to consider deeply and look for solutions and answer. There is no quick fix, ready-made 1 second answer. And I don't name the government. I mean, the government is doing what it can. And I think nowadays the political pressures, no matter where you are in the world, are so high that people are just busy winning elections and stuff like that, wherever. It's really not about India that I speak at all. So, but society should think about it and see what we want to do with this large talent pool, because this dexterity, the intelligence, the flexibility, the resilience, the creativity of human beings can never be replaced by a robot. But then somebody needs to think and offer training, even at a cost, but offer training, redeploy. And if not, yes, that is damage. Lives are damaged. But nobody should invest in robots just because they're thinking of replacing labor. That it is not the right way to look at it. It will never work out. And actually, I believe the word design thinking, or the concept of design thinking, should be thought about. If you really wish to robotize, you should take a look at the shop floor, the processes, the supply chain. Not complicated, but these do need to be considered. And certainly the plant manager, if not the head of the company, should take deep interest in the project for robotization to succeed. And if you start small, the scalability offered by robots, the quality, repeatability, productivity is unmatched. Okay. because you can suddenly enhance your output by tenfold. And the orders you could address would be of a different league. Even your customers who visit get a different sense of confidence when they see that you have a robot. Many of our customers put a Fanuc robot to win orders, you know.
Oh.
And it's okay for us, although I personally always wish, and it does turn out ultimately, that they start seeing the value for themselves, not just to show to someone else.
Ma'am, coming to the question, because most of our audience are going to be the plastic fraternity.
Yes.
How the plastic injection molding industry in India is embracing the transformation to all the electric machines now?
In our country, the plastic injection molding has caught on quite significantly. But compared to the rest of the world, we are still in what shall I say, early stages would be a polite word for it. We're in early stages of adopting all electric injection molding machines. We are still in the conventional, backward, polluting, inefficient, power guzzling hydraulic machines. So I think Indian manufacturers are very modern thinking and very entrepreneurial in their mindset. They have to be, because with all the challenges, you cannot run a business in India if you're a follower or a conventional kind of guy, so or girl. So yes, all electric machines have the bad rap or the bad image of being very expensive and sort of museum pieces or only for precision and so on and so forth. And I totally disagree with this because the Fanuc all electric that we pioneered back in 1984 is one of the most rugged and resilient, reliable, and very cost efficient, cost performance as we call it, such that the Fanuc RoboShot also comes with 8.4 years mean time between failure. And we have, compared to hydraulic, we have 67% power saving, and all of these things translate into the lowest total cost of ownership. The cost per piece for a plastic fraternity is very important. And I'm very proud to say that not only do we serve precision medical components and automotive and all these little devices that we carry, you know, precision electronic parts, but also we have begun playing in packaging, in thin-walled food containers. And the only reason we succeed here is because of our unique artificial intelligence features like short weight consistency, like mold safety, and of course power saving and high reliability and all that. So I think the Indian fraternity needs to reconsider and take a look at where they would like their business to go. But that's what I would say about all electric injection molding machines.
Thank you, ma'am. Our audience will be happy to kind of hear that what you've shared with them. Ma'am, in what time frame the investment in robotics can be recovered? Though it may be very difficult to kind of have a ballpark ROI, but what are the figures that you share with our converters?
Yeah. So at the beginning or earlier today, I said that, you know, we cannot look at robots as a solution for replacing manpower, either expensive or unreliable or whatever that is. So that is an important thing. And return on investment for any project, honestly, any project, it doesn't have to be robotization, is highest. But even in case of robotization, it is best when it has been carefully thought through and to provide the highest value addition in the process of the shop floor itself. So to work out the supply chain, the process as well as the output, and advantages which are readily available by robotization are productivity. And in that case, ROI with our experience, I would say, is between 2 and 3 years. But in projects where there is senior involvement and there is like a handshake, because for any successful and new project, one has to work like partners, not like customer and vendor. So with thoughtful, engaged plant managers in charge, fully involved, we have seen ROI which is less than 12 months.
That's very
It
encouraging.
depends. It is encouraging, but it is not magic.
Yeah.
वो robot लगा लो, इधर से पैसा बनने लगेगा, ऐसा नहीं है. Okay, it takes some involvement. Like one of the customers we are working at, trying to robotize their welding process. The variety of parts to be welded is so huge that it can never be efficient, because the robot has to be retaught every time for the profiles. But this begs the question, why such a large variety, which a robot manufacturer cannot answer? It is the process owner who has deep roots and understanding of that industry can take a look. Maybe something breaks through, fresh thinking comes, like that.
Ma'am, our plastic fraternity, the processors, most of them are family-owned company.
Yes.
And now the second generation is coming in and the third generation is coming in, which are, the younger Turks, as I call them.
Okay.
Do you think the acceptors and their inclination is more towards shifting the processes to robotics? Do you feel that shift?
Yes, I think any kind of fresh thinking, when you come with less baggage, you make fresher decisions. So yes, absolutely, with younger people, there would be a push for robotics. There would be a push even for all electric, which is still quite new for us, and for genuinely using IoT, not just using IoT as a buzzword, a fashionable thing, but actually utilizing it to enhance business. There would be a push, but I would say that the parents who brought the companies to this level we should give a deep credence, because the young Turks would not be in this position if it weren't for the hard days and the tough decisions that those elders did.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I totally agree with you, ma'am. Totally agree. Ma'am, which are the industries where you think that robotics would actually grow in India in the coming years? Not very far away. I'm just talking about maybe next 1 or 2 years.
So see, today, like it or not, the biggest consumer of robots is the automotive industry.
Yes.
Okay, by far. I mean, if automotive wakes up, all of us, whether it is CNC or robots and all, we are just the machine tool builders of India, the robotizers, they're all in serving the automotive industry, the tier one, the components, and the OEM. So the biggest volume comes from the welding side in body shop, just putting the sheet metal together with spot welding robots and arc MIG welding, and also material handling in assembly, etc. So automotive is not going anywhere. And even with electric vehicles, all of this will still be needed. Although there will be conversion to more plastic parts and all for lightening the thing. But further, there is great chance for robots to play a role in industries like agricultural machinery, in general engineering, in any industry where there is enough volume and handling volume, where value-added activities like inspection is needed, maybe quality check is needed. All this can be done by a robot very easily. It just needs to be thought about. In fact, you should ask the question, why is automotive king in robotics? It is because it was driven by General Motors, which at one time was the #1 car maker in the world, and General Motors had embraced robots, and then the other big three in America did, and Toyota and Honda did. And so it has become the norm to have robotics. This norm has not translated into other, or other industries are not so dominated by global players, perhaps. So the opportunities are endless, and even within the next 1 year to 2 years, electronic manufacturing, which is coming to India, will also be another great consumer of robots. If I look at number of transactions, the lion's share in Fanuc India for robot sales is not Maruti Suzuki, but individual users. Okay, small transactions, 1 unit, 2 units, 10 units, 8 units, like that. And we already have many case studies. In fact, I remember at a time when I was allowed to travel, we have this wonderful customer in Jaipur who just by dint of his bold thinking made robot cells on his shop floor. He puts 3 machines together, puts a robot even, and it's a tiny shop floor. There's a mezzanine, it's not a fancy automated production line at all. And even in the plastic fraternity, we have some of our more modern players who do robotize, who have robotized, and we get repeat orders from them. But then the rest of the plastic fraternities, I think it's a different mindset, as you said. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, finally, I would like to ask you to share some message that you have, because it is a women series,
Okay.
for the women colleagues that are there.
Yeah, sure. I agree. Differentiation is there. And good differentiation is very good. But for most of all, what I would like to, as an older person, say to the younger women in our industry or anywhere else would be believe in yourself, you know, and don't react to what you think others are thinking. You don't even know what they're thinking. And even if they're thinking, let it be. You manufacture, you project your inner thoughts and manufacture your reality. It changes. Okay. And today, India is so hungry for talent that if you're willing, if you're reasonably smart, you don't have to be very smart. If you're sincere, if you're honest, and you want to swim with the team and help deliver for the team, I challenge you, nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop you. Because India is so hungry. We never meet our manpower budget. Never.
Yes, true.
Every 6 months, we have a budget exercise. We don't meet our manpower budget because there are not enough good people to hire. And good doesn't mean high ranking engineers with 25 years experience. No. Even anybody with a, जिसे हिंदी में कहते हैं ना, जिसमें दिल हो, तो करने की मर्जी हो, बस इससे ज्यादा नहीं चाहिए. तो as women, we are so much luckier. You know, you ladies are so much smarter. But I realized about a couple of years ago that it's not a question of being equal to men. Forgive me, all the men that I work with, I love them, but I think women, because of their environment, are forced to be and end up being way more capable and resilient, way more. I mean, there is no contest. Okay, and I'm not saying this to show off at all. I'm just saying, why are we still caught up with this discussion? Okay, and definitely somebody will discriminate. Even women will discriminate. Let it be. You pilot your own boat.
You just walk across that ceiling as Harry Potter. That is my take.
Yeah, and if there are terrible things happening and all, you have to speak up.
Yep.
Okay, you have to have the guts to leave the job. Okay.
Yes.
If terrible things are happening, but other than that, deal with it. Like really, Nidhi, if I compare when I joined the workforce, when CA firms, the first thing they would say, the leading CA firm in Ahmedabad, instead of asking me about some company law questions, they made the usual comment that they do to women. And I was this bold little 22-year-old. I just said, no problem, sir. I will use the bathroom facilities at home. You know, I never said कि मुझे 8-10 घंटे में क्या कर 12 घंटे क्या करूँगी. You know, those days we used to be more, because maybe we wanted to work so badly. For me, one of the biggest things, I wanted to work. I wanted to be independent. Today, there are so many companies. There are cars with chauffeurs, with policies, with HR managers. We didn't have HR. I worked for Ferguson, India's #1 CA firm in those days. There was no HR. There was a personnel which paid you salary after cutting the leaves you take from visiting the parents, you know. So I think that we need to be more driven. That's it. And it's all there. It's waiting for you. And I would also like to mention to all the men that, you know, I think life is beautiful. We must do fabulous work. And why should we shut our eyes to 50% of the world? It's not natural at all. And no, I don't believe in reservations. I don't believe that you should dilute standards just because some woman is entering. Nonsense. That would be insulting. That's why for the longest time I used to shy away from Women's Day, because I think it is such tokenism, you know.
You mentioned it, right?
Yeah, but I have now aged a little bit, and I think we should be take a broader perspective. And so all the managers who are men and who feel women can't do X, Y, or Z, that is not really true. You just need the right woman, and the women need to realize they are the right woman.
Yes.
And after that, I think you should forget about your gender. You know, there's too much gender conversations, nonsense. Okay. Like tomorrow, I'll say, Are, Nidhi, you're from Shimla. How come you're doing this kind of work? I would call this a patronizing comment. You should feel marginally insulted and forgive me for being old lady and outdated thoughts. You know what I'm saying? It's the same, whether you're from Shimla or whether you have ovaries, it's all the same. So I wish people would think like that, and then India will really bloom, because yeah, we need more. India has a terrible statistic. The women in the workforce is shrinking. It's terrible. And it's not because they're all very wealthy. In fact, we're a poor country. People need livelihood, yet it is shrinking. So it is a big statement. And all my comments, of course, are limited to that 1%, 2% world in which I live, in which all of us live, not just me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but the statistics we speak about cover the whole of our country. And we should spare a thought for that.
Thank you for sharing,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Very, 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 very beautiful thoughts, actually, and very thought-provoking for all of us. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So finally, ma'am, what does Sonali Kulkarni get fueled on? What keeps you awake at night? What is that, thing that keeps you energized and driven all the time?
Okay, the off-the-cuff answer would be old monk, because you say fuel, and I studied biochemistry, so it's either alcohol or petroleum products, but no. I love my team, and I love the work I do. So if I don't really stay up nights, honestly, but what would disturb me, so far as work is concerned, is how to genuinely make our customers successful, and then therefore earn market share for Fanuc. And as a world citizen, what keeps me up at night is with so much progress, with so much capability, we have such grinding poverty, and I would like to find my path to address any minuscule piece of that. I should not say minuscule, any piece of that. Yeah, but I have not found that answer. And I'm busy working, promoting the Fanuc products.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sonali Kulkarni from you. From the heart, Dil Se, and absolutely saying it up front what she feels. And what a beautiful message from a thinker behind being that CEO that she is. It has been such a pleasure having this rendezvous with you, ma'am. I'm sure that everyone who listens to this interview is going to be inspired, and they're going to be touched somewhere, one point of some thought that you've shared through this interview. We thank you so much, and we are going to be looking forward to meet up with you in person soon.
Thank you, Nidhi, for very thoughtful questions and such a joyful experience.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.